Now, speaking as well, last night Anthony Albanese gave a speech in which, now it seems the Albanese government has pretty much alienated Israel, one of our great allies and one of our great friends, and the Albanese government seems hell-bent on alienating America, the USA.
Oh, good idea.
Great work,
Fantastic.
Albo, that you're doing, you and Wong and Burke. What a great team you lot are. So he made a speech last night which is being widely viewed as, it's called the Australian way, in which Albanese, I'll play you a little bit of it in a second, but basically the criticism that is coming out very strongly from Australian commentators and from American, more importantly, US commentators already, is that this is Australia, this is the Albanese government pushing America away, saying, oh, we don't, you know, we're not going to be part of you, we're going to do our own thing. This is the tough Albanese government. I mean, are you serious? They're pursuing their own agenda. We don't have any ships. We let the Chinese sail all around us, going at us and making fun of us. And, oh, yeah, we're going to do it the Australian way. And this is being viewed very seriously in America, where there is a review into AUKUS. At this very moment that there's a review into AUKUS, Albanese decides to make a speech in which he basically pushes the Americans away. This is the John Curtin speech last night. Have a listen to a bit of it.
Our alliance with the US ought to be remembered as a product of Curtin's leadership in defence and foreign policy, not the extent of it. Because Curtin's famous statement that Australia looked to America was much more than the idea of trading one strategic guarantor for another, or swapping an alliance with the old world for one with the new. It was a recognition that Australia's fate would be decided in our region.
So this is pathetic. I mean, we need the US. We're part of the US alliance. At the very moment, we refuse. The rest of the NATO, by the way, are all going, with the exception of Spain, are going, yeah, we're going to up our spending to 5% or whatever it is. We're floundering around 2% and a bit. We're thumbing our noses at the US. We seriously think, and Albanese is off to Beijing for his 4th visit to Xi Jinping. These people are trashing our most precious resource, which is the strength of our alliance with the US, and the fact that we culturally, economically, historically have so many ties with the US. This is insane, Freya, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know how he defines the Australian way, because clearly he has come up with his own definition of it. Because I always thought the Australian way was to stand tall, to act with courage, to be brave, to charge into battle with our allies, to fight for our values. But it seems now the Australian way is to shrink and sulk into the corner and hope not to be noticed and just stand back while everyone trounces all over us. What is this new Australian way he's defined? Because I don't want that. That is not Australian. I was at the Australian War Memorial down in Canberra a couple of weeks ago, and you walk through the main area there and you see the names of thousands of Australians who have died fighting alongside the United States and our Western allies. That is who we are as a nation. We are strong, we are brave, we are courageous. We're not shrinking violets, embarrassed and scared, but that's how Albo is trying to redefine us.
So, Rita, it appears the Australian way is you send the Virgin airline out to see what the Chinese Navy are doing and you get them to radio it in. That's pretty much the Australian way now.
Well, he's cozying up to China. I mean, the messaging here is quite obvious. It's not just saying we can go it alone, because Albo doesn't believe we can go it alone. Our defence spending indicates that. But he's saying, essentially, China's our friend, and that speech was very closely watched in Washington, and insiders are saying it's being viewed very negatively by the Trump administration, understandably. And we need the US, we need the Trump administration. We've seen the NATO allies, after having their little tantrums, fall into line and do what Donald Trump has asked them to do, which is to be a little bit more self-sufficient in defending themselves by devoting more of their GDP spent on spending greater amount on defence, greater percentage of their GDP. And we're just being completely recalcitrant when it comes to that. And we're going to pay for it when he eventually sits down with Donald Trump and does a trade deal. Because at NATO, one of the things Donald Trump said that, again, Australian government should have taken note of was the NATO allies have fallen into line, but Spain hasn't. Yeah. So when we sit down with Spain, they're going to pay. They're still going to pay what they should have paid, because they will get a trade deal and tariffs that are greater than they otherwise would have because of the attitude to defence spending. So what do you think is going to happen when Albo eventually sits down with the president? Do you think he's going to go, well, yeah, you've been calling me names, your ministers have been calling me names, your ambassador is an absolute train wreck, and you've just, completely treated with disdain calls to spend more on defence. Yeah, I'm going to give you a really advantageous trade deal. What do you think's going to happen? The fact that they haven't sat down with Australia yet, when we are one of the very few countries in the world that has a surplus with them. So they actually are, we're one of the very few. We should have been first in the door. We should have got the best deal. And we're still waiting for a one-on-one meeting. And on top of that, Freya, we've also got, one of the worst attacks on free speech in the Western world underway with our e-safety commissioner and her attacks on America and the way that we are basically at odds with America on every single thing. We have the real crime, if you like, here is that the Liberal Party, the opposition, should be now going, we need to be close to America. We have all the ties with Donald Trump. Peter Dutton was over there, the first person to go and sit in the White House when Donald Trump was elected. Except you weren't, were you? You were so stupid, Liberal Party, so moronic, so utterly bereft of any ability to look into the future that you spent the election campaign dismissing our closest relationship with Trump. You could have used it, you could have had it, it was there for the taking, and you morons actually pushed it away, and now you got nothing. Freya, am I being too tough on the Liberal Party?
Well, I mean, I would say so. But definitely there are elements of truth in what you're saying. The media in Australia also has Trump derangement syndrome. The way the ABC covers Trump. If you're just an average Aussie, chances are the only messaging you're hearing about Trump is negative, 100%. Hysterical commentary from the left. And so I think definitely in the lead up to the election, that influenced the Liberal Party's thinking.
Yeah,
they were scared.
That's just cowardice, because the same messaging, the same Trump derangement syndrome exists in the UK when it comes to any reporting on US politics. And yet you got Nigel Farage not kowtowing to that. He is saying he's copying policies straight from the Trump playbook. He's not shying away with the alliance with Donald Trump. And he's winning. You've got Keir Starmer, a hardcore lefty in the same elbow mould, who's worked out how to... He's straight off the Trump.
It's not necessarily about Trump or not. It's about standing on strength and actually having leadership.
But that is what we are lacking in this country, because our conservatives, our so-called conservatives, look at the media coverage, look at what the focus groups are doing, and they don't try to counter it. They don't say, well, obviously, we need to explain our position. We need to articulate these policies and why we believe in them, like they did with The Voice. They just go, this is too hard. We don't want a backlash. We're going to be Labor light. And every time a Conservative government, or opposition, I should say, is Labor light, they lose. They lose. Yep. And I don't know why they keep going back to a losing strategy. Look at Victoria if you want to see what happens when you go down that road. You have absolutely nothing to take to the electorate, even when the government is a broken, backward, hard left, mess. They will still win because people will vote for a party that believes in something. And the Liberals at the moment, it's hard to understand what they actually believe in. Well, I want to raise the question. We'll be talking to Billboard Chris shortly, who won a massive victory this week against the E-Safety Commissioner, Freya. And this was simply on the grounds that the E-Safety Commissioner tried to block Billboard Chris from his legitimate points of view about Australia's transgender representative going to the World Health Organization and the fitness or otherwise of that individual. Billboard Chris won that. So Australia is losing. The Liberal Party had the opportunity to oppose that, but they didn't. They went hard in and said, oh, yeah, we support this e-safety. In fact, they came up with the idea of the e-safety commissioner. And they still stand with it to this day. What's going to happen? Where is the opposition? Where's the fight? Well, I want to see... We're already 2 months into this ghastly government, and I haven't seen Susan Lee lay one finger on
the government. That's not good enough for me.
Yeah, well, the e-safety commissioner, originally the intention was to take down things like child pornography,
yes,
exploitation material.
No one disagrees with that.
That we can all get behind.
But they're not doing that.
But that's the problem, right? With bureaucracies, you start by giving them one mandate and then things creep.
Well, I don't know.
And so now
Don't blame the bureaucrats, blame the politicians.
When you appoint a hard left activist from America whose political activism has been very evident and clear if you just care to look, when you appoint someone like that to the role, then you're shocked that the direction of the whole e-safety commissioner's office goes somewhere you weren't expecting. But to this date, they have not stood against her. So I'm sorry, the Liberals don't get a pass here, because even if they were misguided in coming up with this concept and appointing her, she's given them plenty of reasons to say she's not fit for that role, and they refuse to do that.
And especially with the Bishop Murray stabbing, we remember that there was a takedown order for the entire globe.
For the world.
Another
It's just
case
ridiculous.
she lost.
Exactly.
And how
Another
much
one she lost.
taxpayer money are we spending defending
well,
these
we talked
cases?
to Billboard Chris about that, but also just very quickly before we go to a break, just want to mention that the Cricket Australia again have shown that they are traitors to Australia, in my opinion. I would, if I were a cricket fan, which I'm not, I would not be going. I would not. Rita laughs because my sporting prowess is some humour to Rita. Cricket's the one with the bat and the ball, is it, or is that the?
They run between them.
Seriously, they're not going to play games on Australia Day. This isn't out of respect for Australia Day. This is because it's Invasion Day. We're going to upset people. Cowards, aren't they, Freya?
Complete cowards, anti-Australian, and people are sick of this. We're sick of the cultural self-loathing. When will these organisations understand we actually love our country, want to stand tall and be proud?